All right. All right, back into the mix. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. This is DSP News, the unreliable ones. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the newsroom and welcome to the Goutopia News Network, your unreliable source for DSP News. This is the Pseudo Snort Report, brought to you by SnortBucks Coffee Company, the best beverage company. Here we go. So, it's been a minute, and we're doing some we're kind of switching it up a little bit because I went ahead and kind of started streaming back in June, and while everybody else was essentially on break, and now that they all have come back and they've all seen what I've kind of been doing, they're like, okay, we can kind of, you know, smooth some of this stuff out, because of course that's why they're there. that's kind of the point. So in any case, that is a thing. It's been fun, certainly, and we'll keep on doing it. I should have something somewhere that kind of tells you where we're streaming at. If not, eventually it'll be put there. And I guess you guys can consider this welcoming to my TED Talk. This is going to be just a tune-up recording, essentially. Actually, the next couple of videos are going to be, because I just kind of need to get back into the flow of things, and then we get back into the Snort Report. We're going to start from April and move on. There's a lot that I've missed, so there's a lot that I want to catch up on, and we'll see if we can try to finish out the year strong, if possible. Most of it's going to bleed into 2022, but that is a thing. I understand that, yet again, I've missed a lot of stuff. There's a lot of current event stuff out there that'll kind of just get thrown in there here or there, and like I said, I have a channel where I stream on. We'll talk about it a little bit more over there. There will be some live broadcasts over here as well. It's all work in progress, so we'll get to that when we get to that. In any case, that's the end of my TED Talk. And let's just go ahead and get into the situation. You know what I'm saying? Enough of the talking. Let's get to the talking. And I'll see you guys in just a second.
I appreciate.
Okay. I had to actually step away from the recording for like an hour and a half. I didn't think it was going to take that long, but something came up. In any case, since this is where we're at, we haven't really even started, so we're good to go. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Hate Army Watch. Link to this video is down in the description as usual, but I kind of broke the script there. We're here with Hate Army Watch. DSP addresses coffee man shenanigans on Kiwi Farms. This is from August 5th of 2021. The link will be down in the description. Excuse me. The description box and some other things will probably get tweaked over time. People need to be added to the directory and stuff like that, so look out for that as time goes on. Okay, let me give you guys, I guess, a quick synopsis, I guess, of this nonsense and what it eventually led to. So, to make a long story short, OnlyIcedCoffee was on Kiwi Farms, as I said that most of Phil's pay pigs or cult members are in one way, shape, or form, just like they're in people's discords and stuff like that. He was on Kiwi Farms. He was chopping it up, shitting on DSP 1 minute, slightly defending him on another. Around this time, he was pretty pissed off at Super Crazy. Big up Super Crazy for the How to Catch a Pay Pig series, and mainly what Super Crazy was saying about him in those videos. That shit touched a nerve. I talked about this on one of my live streams, where I believe that OnlyIcedCoffee was using Super Crazy's videos to basically hunt down pay pigs or other whales, I should say, and pay pigs and bumping them off. Because that's the reason why you don't see nearly as much support, is because Only Iced Coffee behind the scenes is going around basically bumping people off to have it to, at least the way I see it, to have having Phil to be solely dependent on him. In a similar way, you could say of King Tut, except for King Tut wasn't doing all the bullshit gay ops behind the scenes to make it happen. Anyway, for whatever reason, Only Iced Coffee lost focus. He started really, I guess, almost obsessing about Super Crazy and trying to get back at him. And he was trying to convince a couple of people on Kiwi Farms to dox Super Crazy. One of the initial person he went to said no. Another person, I guess, disregarded altogether. And then he found someone who seemed like he was willing to at least look into it and see what was what. This person that he went to, the second or third person, I've been told there's three, but maybe there's only two. They were initially looking some shit up, and then for one reason or another, they came to the realization that they were being played, and this was Only Iced Coffee. And what happened is more information. You kind of saw little glimpses of it earlier on. You can always rewind this back and you can see it, or you can just go to Hate Army Watch's original video. You can find it, and you can see it in the beginning. People started to realize that Only Iced Coffee was running around on these multiple accounts, and slowly but surely they were accumulating all of these accounts together. And by using his speech patterns and how he was typing stuff out, they were starting to come to the realization that it was him. And this guy ended up catching wind of it and just dropped the whole subject essentially. But Only Iced Coffee was essentially playing this guy into position to get him to dox Super Crazy, to get him off of his back. Even though I don't think that would have stopped Super Crazy at all. If anything, that would have made Super Crazy even more motivated. So that right there, it would have been an oof, to say the very fucking least. On top of that, I'm also of the theory that Only Iced Coffee outed himself on purpose. The heat was on. To make a long story incredibly short, the heat was on. They were putting two and two together. They were going to figure him out anyway. And I think he has some other sock accounts out there that he doesn't want to be identified at this moment, at the particular moment. So it was easier just to give it up, to just come out and oust himself on his Frogger account on Kiwi Farms, ending with an H. But it doesn't even matter, because even up to the current date, he's still on there. He's still talking shit. Everybody knows who he is. And there are people who seem to kind of fuck with him. So I guess it doesn't really matter if you think about it in the grand scheme of things. There is no, sadly, that's just how it plays out. You know what I'm saying? Your enemies one day, or your friends another, or associates or whatever. Friends are probably a stretch, but at least your associates another or whatnot. It's just how it works. Everybody's just manipulating everybody in some type of way, shape, or form. So it is what it is. But that's essentially what all this nonsense is about. You know what I'm saying? That's what it comes down to. And eventually he would have gotten outed. And even if he did get outed, it probably wouldn't have mattered anyway. He probably would have still stayed on Kiwi Farms. He would have still talked this shit. If he's on Kiwi Farms, which obviously he was, you know what I'm saying? They just didn't know who he was. He's, like I said, he's in people's Discords. He's in people's DMs on Twitter and whatnot. And sooner or later, it'll all come out, as it always does. He's not the first one to attempt this. He won't be the last.
All of your contributions, I really do. You guys, again, keep stuff going. And one thing that I will say up front, just for safety purposes, please, guys, be aware that there is a negative troll element on the internet. People who are pretty nasty and will basically try to hurt people just because they can. There's no real justification for what they do, nor is there any real reasoning behind it. All right? There's people on the internet who want to mess with people. And if they can get your personal information and they can, harass you online or post up your personal information, they'll do it just because they can do it. So just to forewarn anyone, if you're a regular on my stream, if you're a regular on anyone else's stream anywhere, whether it's on YouTube or Twitch, do your best to diversify your personal information from any information that you put on the internet. Try not to talk too much about your personal life and who you are or where you're from. Do not give out any personal details. Certainly do not use a name that's real, close to your real name. And certainly do not use the same name in any kind of a chat that you're going to use on social media, say Twitter or Facebook or whatever. You want to have everything separated so that way if someone gets a bug up their butt about you, they can't find you on the internet and try to harass you elsewhere. Okay? It's just...
Now, there's a lot of irony in all that. Mainly, WWE Champions. You know what I'm saying? That WWE Champions name that he initially had, I think it was They Call Me DSP before he went through all these circles that changed shit around from, you know what I'm saying? If he had that under a completely different name that wasn't associated with DSP, we may have never found that account. We knew he was playing it. We suspected, certainly for years. There used to be a Twitter account that followed his antics, if you will, through WWE Champions and WWE Supercard, I think, mainly was the main game they followed. And so there was already a track record of that shit. But once people found that, then Phil got fucked. And here's the thing that gives all that up, which I still think is hilarious. The name changes is what fucked him. Because if that really wasn't him, he just let it ride, and it is what it is. If he would have just never changed the name and let it ride, he'd have been fine. But he kept changing the names. And every time people discovered the names, he changed it again. Then he was starting to get kicked out of guilds. Once he kept getting kicked out of all these different guilds, it proved to be DSP. Because that's what he is. When he's cornered or when he's forced out, he'll run somewhere else. And he'll try to change up there. But then he'll run and try to change somewhere else. And I think it's BT9494 and then TJ Gamebox. They had like screenshots of his conversations in these guild conversations, in these guild chat groups, if you will. And same type of verbiage. You know what I'm saying? His speech patterns or how he writes his dialogue out is the exact same shit that you see on not KiwiFarms, sorry, on Twitter and on his streams. At that time, that's when he was on Twitch. It's the exact same depth and style. He didn't differentiate from anything. He was the exact same way. He is who he is. You know what I'm saying? He can't change. So how are you going to expect other people to do that when you can't do it yourself? You know what I mean? He can't protect himself. How could he possibly protect others? It's funny and ironic in a lot of ways, to be honest, how DSP, Darkside Phil Burnell, King of Hate, you know what I'm saying? King and queen, if you think about it, because he's a total fucking Karen of suffering, right? Knows what to do, how to do, and when to do stuff, and yet he never does it. He can tell you at any given time what you should do and what you shouldn't do, but in his own life, he can't do a goddamn thing. It's amazing how that's a situation. And it's even more amazing that some of the ass clowns over there haven't figured that out yet. That's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Just like it's crazy when you see some of these accounts that come around every once in a while saying, "Oh, Phil, I used to be a detractor. I used to be a fan of detractors, and these people they took it too far, so I decided to come over here and give you a chance, and you're not so bad." You spent years watching detractor content, and one person pissed you off, allegedly, right? Or one person went a little too far, and then you decided to jump over there to DSP over that. If that's not fucking the dumbest thing I've ever heard, certainly, then I don't know what is. Which means it's more than likely, of course, it's a meme. It's people clowning him. And yet he believes it. He has seen examples of people using this meme on Twitter and on Kiwi Farms, and yet he continues to keep falling for it. You would think of all people, he would know better. And yet, this is what happens when you live backwards. You just keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And so by proxy, he's passing on those same mistakes to others over and over and over again. That's the reason why everybody is the way they is. That's why he has all of his issues and addictions and all that. That's why Derek has his fucking addiction and all his issues and shit. And then everybody else. Just absolute ass clowns.
Kind of a public service announcement that makes sense to do because sometimes, sadly, people's information does leak on the internet and then they get harassed by trolls, and it's just because they weren't careful enough to make sure that they didn't go that extra step to hide their personal info. You'd be surprised because you think, well, then who really is vulnerable to this? Certainly not me. I'm a nobody. No, everyone is. these people who do this, they don't do it because there's a reason behind it or because there's some kind of an end game. They do it literally because they can hurt someone or harass someone and get away with it. That's the only reason they do it. If they had consequences for their actions, they certainly wouldn't do it. But they've realized the internet is a place that's basically not really policed for this kind of stuff, and they will just harass people online because they can, not because.
But if you think about what his begging is, if you really think about it, like when it comes to the harassment part, if you think about his begging and how he implements it, it is a form of harassment. The fact that you come up here every day and you threaten people that, one, they won't be able to partake in your content, right? And two, because you won't be around, because you won't be able to do this as a job if you can't pay your bills. And two, that if they were real supporters and if they really liked you and they really appreciated you, they would do it. Is that not a form of harassment? Especially when, and we saw this with Bacon Sweats, big ups to Sunspot Gallery, when he was going through these fits of, we're not getting enough tips, and he's doing it over and over and over again. You got to think a pay pig has to listen to that, what, 10, 15 times a day? Not even a day, maybe 10 or 15 times, well, let's say between 7 to 10 times, during just a single stream. You know what I mean? During just a single stream. So you may hear that as a pay pig, or as a fan, or as a viewer, you might hear that like 10 times, 20 times a day. Is that not a form of harassment? Sure, it's a harassment that you don't have to take. You could easily go somewhere else, whether on Twitch or YouTube or wherever. But it is still harassment either which way, yeah? It's intrusive. It's something that you didn't come there for, right? So there's no reason that you should be... There's no reason why you should have to go through this. You came here for a particular purpose. That's what that purpose should be done for. Or that's what the purpose should be met. That's it. You shouldn't be there for anybody else. This idiot right here is sitting here saying, oh, if you guys put your real information out there, or no, he's basically saying, if you're going to fuck with my content, if you're going to fuck with me, and if you're going to be part of this community, you can't do anything else because you're not going to be safe anywhere else. So you essentially have to be loyal to me, and you have to shield yourself if you don't want to get harassed. He doesn't really give a shit if you get harassed or not, because at the end of the day, it's a double-edged sword. Both sides are infected with gout. Walk with me on this. On one side of the sword, if you stay with Phil, you're probably going to get fucked one way or another anyway, which he actually wants, because that means you're kind of going to be forced to stay with him. You're going to be too scared to go anywhere else. So you might as well just stay here out of fear and out of false loyalty. Pure and simple. If you do get exposed on the other side of that sword, if you do get exposed, if you do get doxxed, if whatever the case may be, where else can you go? So on one side of it, fear is going to have to keep you here, right? Because you don't want to necessarily get outed, but you don't want to actually go anywhere else because, hey, this might follow you somewhere else. If you get exposed, where else can you go? Are you really going to want to start over? Do you really want people to kind of harass you over there too? Either way, if you look at it the way he has it all set up, you're fucked either way. Now, let me go ahead and get into how that benefits him. You're just stuck there. All these fucking mentally ill idiots and all these fucking haters and shit and everything else, right? All these detractors and whatever. They did this to you. So you might as well stay here. You might as well keep supporting me because that's what keeps them pissed off. And this is us fighting back. You know what I'm saying? The more you contribute to me, your fight, I can continue my fight against them. It's not about giving you guys good content. It's not about being an entertainer. It's not about any of that dumb shit that he don't give a fuck about. It's about getting back at these guys by merely existing. Because that's all he does. He's not striving to do better. He's not thriving doing what he's doing, right? He's merely wanting to exist. And he convinced these idiots to keep giving him money merely to do just that. And then sprinkles on these false promises that things will get better as long as you continue to do so. And if one of you guys drop, you drop. I'll hopefully be able to get someone else. And a year ago, maybe even 2, I would say most of these pay pigs are replaceable. Now, not so much. The herd has certainly been I want to say diluted, but that's not what I'm looking for has been spread thin. Certainly, he's not being able to replenish new blood, if you will. They're just dropping like flies, and there's very few people to kind of come in. And even the quote unquote silent majority, right? Even those people are smart enough to go through one or two fucking sock accounts before they donate anything to him, and then they're out. And even then, they're not going to throw any major money at him consistently because they see his behavior, the behavior of an addict, which I've been telling you guys that for the longest. I've been telling you that shit for the longest. You know what I mean? So he has nothing else, and by proxy, you guys as his viewers, as his fans, part of the pay pigs or part of the cult, you don't have anything either. We're gonna walk hand and fucking hoof into hell, and we're gonna do it together because you guys have nowhere else to go. That right there is a really, really bleak and sad way of looking at existence, but that is very much DSP's existence. What else is he doing to better himself? What else is he doing to better his community? If you're trying to better your community, you have to do it with self. You have to be able to do for self before you can do for others. DSP has never been about that life.
Reason to do it, you see? So please be aware. Please be aware that this is happening, and please be careful. All right, I wouldn't want anyone to be stalked and or harassed like I am on a daily basis. You know, I'm the content creator. I'm the guy who puts himself out there publicly. You know, I get the nastiest stuff happening to me. I wouldn't want any of that happening to any of my viewers. Okay. Now,
if that was true, then why didn't him and Brightside Viking and KG didn't take the precautions needed, or why didn't they go ahead and just submit to the demands that were made during the Blood of the Blood Gods? This is back in 2017, 2018. Quick summary. Basically, the escort saga was going on. Phil was getting old. So this is the end of 2017 and 2018. So I'm still right. The escort saga was going on. Phil was trying to get videos taken down. He was trying to get channels taken down. This is all proven. And he needed to put pressure on Kiwi Farms. Let's call a spade a spade. Brightside Viking, whether by Phil's direction or on his own, decided to go over there and wage war with those people on Kiwi Farms and got proper fucked for it. And then by proxy, Phil got proper fucked. In turn, because of Brightside Viking shenanigans, Kiwi Farms was like, hey, you need to denounce him and you need to do it publicly. If not, then piggies are going to start dropping. Phil was like, I don't know what you fucking talk about. You guys don't threaten me. Fuck you. Yada, yada, yada. Kiwi Farms put out the edict that, hey, if Darkside Phil doesn't denounce Brightside Viking and he doesn't do it publicly, every 24 hours a pay pig's going to drop, or just a fan of his is going to drop. And that's essentially what happened. I don't know how many people. I felt like it was only maybe less than a handful, but it could have been more. Who could say? But at least a handful of them ended up getting exposed over that bullshit. Now, the point that I'm trying to make is, when some of the people from the King of Hate forums were going to KG, going to Brightside Viking, going to Phil and be like, hey, I want my account to be wiped. I want to get the fuck out of here because I don't have nothing to do with your bullshit. All I want to do was sit here and watch the content and support you. And now we're under attack because of his dumb shit and because of your inability to do anything. I want out. Oh, what are you guys talking about? Oh, they're not going to do anything. Oh, this, oh, that. Phil was on stream being like, oh, if you guys get exposed, that's your fault. That's your problem. You guys should have taken better care, or you should have treaded even a little bit more carefully with your internet footprint. That ain't got shit to do with me. That ain't got shit to do with anybody else. And more importantly, Kiwi Farms can't do anything anyway. They don't even have your information. Those idiots, as Phil said, those idiots don't even have a way of finding your information. Fuck them. And what ended up happening? Bodies ended up dropping. And then Phil had to double back. And even then, Phil was still lying to his audience, saying no one got doxxed, nothing's happening, everything is just moving along day to day as it usually does. Then Phil had to eventually come out and admit, okay, there was some people exposed, but it's your fault that you guys got exposed. That's your issue. That's your problem. Here's some information on how to better protect yourself, but anybody who ended up getting exposed, that was your fault. At the end of the day, he still wasn't man enough to admit, hey, we all fucked up and some people got exposed, it's, you know what I'm saying, it was a misstep. He still blamed it on them. And while he was blaming it on them, he fucked over Brightside Viking by getting him kicked off of Twitch. You know what I mean? The one who was frontlining for him, the one who started all this bullshit, essentially, well, started that bullshit on Kiwi Farms at the very least, he ended up getting stabbed in the back anyway and got the Blood Eagle treatment. So that shows you where loyalty can get you over there in the pig in the pig pen over there.
Along with that, all right, I'm just going to say something else up front. Do not, and I mean this, do not believe any bullshit that you hear conspiracy theory nonsense on the fucking internet. Seriously. All right? Don't. It's all fucking bullshit. Because right now...
Okay, so as it pertains to the conspiracy theories or all the shenanigans, if you will, you can... A lot of the theories that go out on Dark Side Phil, in one way, shape, or form, can fit into the overall narrative. Now, does that mean all of them are bang on? No. But most of them are. And most of those ones that were outlandish, that most people just laughed at, that most people dismissed, ended up coming back and being proven in some of the biggest ways possible. You know what I mean? More often than not. Like when people were saying that, hey, Phil's going to go and is getting married in Connecticut when him and Kat take that trip out there. And people were like, nah, it's not going to happen, yada, yada, yada. Remember, April 1st of 2019, someone was asking him on it, well, this is when he was still on Twitch, someone was asking him, hey, are you guys flying over to Connecticut to get married? No, we can't afford it, yada, yada, yada. People immediately jumped on that. I was like, yeah, they're probably going to get married. And that's exactly what ended up happening. A lot of people want to throw the example of the escort saga being that it was a total bust because it didn't work out that way. All you're doing is removing this high-paid European escort and you're moving Catherine in this place. Same Deppen style, to be honest with you. There's a lot of theories, if you will. Him doxing his pay pigs behind the scenes. We already have proof of that. He did that on, most people forget this, he did that on Twitter in like 2019. He was having a problem with Streamlabs. And he actually tweeted Streamlabs with a screenshot of the full names of his fucking fans on Twitter, publicly. He didn't DM it to them. He tweeted that shit publicly. He exposed a large chunk of people just during that. You can find that on Kiwi Farms. I'm surprised more people don't go over that part. But anyway, I'm not trying to give anybody any ideas. There's a bunch of different instances of people theorizing him doing dumb shit, and it comes to fruition in some way, shape, or form. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. At the end of the day, just like in the... Well, I don't know if there's a lot of commentators in the Wings community, but just like in the Wings community, essentially, they use snippets of what Wings says, and they form the narrative. This is essentially no different. So, he can't fight against his own words. And as it pertains to... like I said, the theory crafting, or as I like to call it, swine crafting or gout crafting, that's the fun part of all this shit, to be honest. That's the fun part, is theorizing what dumb shit Phil's doing behind the scenes. And even if your theory is wrong, right, there are aspects of that theory that will turn out to be right anyway, or will lead someone else to think, well, maybe it's actually this way. That shit happens on Kiwi Farms a lot. And does anybody find any proof to any of this shit? Not right away, but sooner than later, the information always comes out. Sooner than later, or we at least get some type of confirmation. And what is that, ladies and gentlemen? Because we've talked about that a lot here. I try to tell that to you guys as often as I can. You give DSP enough rope, and he'll hang himself. It's all he knows how to do. It's all he's ever done. That's why he's alone. That's why he's in a loveless relationship. That's why fucking Jasper only deals with him. That's why he doesn't have a friend to his fucking name. That's why most pay pigs don't even like him anymore. You know what I'm saying? They just use him to make their own way and make their and get what they want. That's pretty much it. There's nothing else to it than that. So like I said, I think that's one of the more fun aspects of this whole DSP shit, to be honest with you. And just to see the reactions out of him and his fan base. Like, to be honest with you, whether his fan base sees the light whether there's evidence or not, is essentially incidental. Seeing how DSP reacts to it is the funny part. Because if you get a reaction out of him, it means there's some truth to it. If he completely disregards it, then you don't even hear anything about it. He just moves on with it. He just snorts happily as the day goes on. So that's what it really comes down to. But the thing that pisses him off is that if anybody does pick up on the conspiracy theory in air quotes and actually decides to really think about it and go back and dig, right, then he's kind of fucked. Because the only veil of protection, if you will, that DSP actually has is the fact that he has so much garbage content out there where he has said so much over years, over a decade, I should say. Let's give it the respect that it deserves for whatever that's worth. He doesn't expect anybody to actually go back and look because it's too fucking much. The problem is, Phil, and you know this, is there's always going to be someone willing to look. There's always going to be someone willing to go back and find it. There is a reason why you have one of the largest threads, if not the largest thread on Kiwi Farms. There's a reason why there is so many detractors out there and continue to grow. There's a reason for all these things. If you were a good person, if you were out there trying to actually contribute and do good things in air quotes, you wouldn't have all this on your neck. But you do. And the reason why that is because you're a fraud. You've always been a fraud. The FGC saw through it. John and Howard eventually saw through it. I think your parents see through it. Or at least your father does. I think at the end of the day, your mother still looks at you as her fucking gouty, snorty little boy. And she loves you regardless. As a parent should. But even she understands what you are. She doesn't want to acknowledge it. But by proxy, she knows what you are. She just doesn't want to acknowledge it. She wants to see you in a certain light. Your father, too, to some degree. Your fan base, at least most of them, kind of still want to hold on to that. But they don't want to be full-blown cult members. The people who are part of the silent majority see you for what you are. That's why they go ahead and throw their tribute at you going through 2 or 3 little sock accounts, and then they just continue to move on. Because having any direct association with you is problematic. And it shouldn't be that way for anybody. You should like who you want to like. But you're the problem. You're the issue. And it doesn't have to be this way. You chose for it to be this way. You chose to do what you want the way you wanted to do it. Knowing damn well that it was wrong. Knowing damn well that you have all these people out here telling you that it's wrong. So it's funny how he wants regulations and he wants all this different bullshit to happen online to protect content creators. But in actuality, there should be, quote unquote, some type of regulation, right? Or some type of consequences for people like him who do what they do. To purposely lie, not even mislead, but purposely to lie to people for financial gain should be considered fraud. And by the basis of fraud, there should be some type of action for it. But there isn't. And no detractors calling for that. They want to see him get his up and comings, but no one's expecting the law to come get him unless he does something to break the law. Like the fraudulent bullshit that was going on with that bankruptcy. Which is what bothers him. And it should bother him. Because that whole bankruptcy filing is a fucking farce. And everybody knows it. He knows it. And it's funny how a man who has spent so much, and I use the term man loosely, a man who has spent the majority of his time on this planet trying to legitimize himself, trying to prove to people that he was worth a damn, turns out to be the useless piece of garbage that people said he was. And he can't even fix it. He can't even do anything about it. He's just stuck. That's truly ironic. DSPNEWS.
Stream chat with complete happy horse shit that's completely false. I've already gotten him. Oh, I heard that this guy did this, and this guy gave you this, and there's evidence of this and this. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. Every piece of it is garbage. Every piece of it is a lie. Every piece of it. But these people, because again, these people are online harassers. They're losers. They have no lives. So they will spin conspiracy after conspiracy and just say it's true with zero actual evidence. It's all circumstantial or shit that they literally fabricate. And then they claim that this stuff is real. They will talk shit about anyone on the internet that they want and magically fabricate evidence to somehow prove what they're saying is true. It's all bullshit. All right?
That's funny because he did the same thing. Remember with that iJustine situation? How she must have slept with she must have been getting gangbanged at the EA executives, or getting gangbanged by EA executives for her to get that position on that fucking video game award show or whatever dumb shit that was. He said that shit freely and whatnot, which does what? One, I guess you could consider that slander, but more importantly, it's delegitimizing her as a woman. Being that, oh, she doesn't have any real skill or ability. She had to sleep her way to that position. Or to get herself there. He didn't see a problem with doing that. He didn't see a problem with shitting on Timmy Turner. You know what I'm saying? Timmy Turner. Toby Turner. And basically saying that how he was manipulating Machinima to basically put his ad for whatever Madden game that was at the time to be put on other content creators' videos. Those were some things that at least Toby Turner, well, iJustine should have been pissed off, but I'm sure she's heard worse. Give or take. But if you're a Toby Turner, he had a reason to be pissed off about that. And then more importantly, to be pissed off about it, Phil demanded for him to give him an apology. No, well, first he demanded that they have a conversation in DMs or whatever. And then he demanded a public apology. That's what was coming out of those DMs. Phil was like, hey, you've hurt me. And you've hurt my business. You're already rich. You're already successful. But people like you are fucking me over. And this thing with the commercial only makes it worse. Because now you're pulling more people from my content to go over your content. You owe me a public apology. And if you do that, then that makes us even. Because your commercial showed up on a bunch of my videos. At the very least, you can publicly apologize and shout me out to your audience so I can be good. And in actuality, nothing is owed from any of that. At all. Toby Turner didn't owe him a goddamn thing. Because that wasn't even in his realm of influence or power or whatever. Toby Turner had no input on that decision. That was Machinima. But see, Phil didn't want to go to Machinima because he needed Machinima. So he needed someone else to be the fall guy. Which is what DSP always does. He always does that. He protects the dick he's sucking, and then he tries to get something from somebody else. And then when they shoot him down, he goes back and he has his little hate campaign, which is essentially what it is, to slander that person. So the very stuff that he accuses people like me doing to him, he's done it to others. But we forget all that, though. Oh, those people were too big. They were too popular. They probably didn't know. They probably don't even know who I am. So why should they care? Well, then why should you care? You're the one who's sitting on an account with, I don't know, 190,000 subs or whatever that shit is, even though I surmise that 50 or 60,000 of them are actually just sock accounts. They're dead accounts. I'm actually pretty confident of it, to be honest. So your whole persona is fraudulent. Like all of your YouTube success, all your internet success is fraudulent. Your FGC success was a joke. And it was a joke because you made it a joke. Because you made your vocal point, your focusing point, the crown jewel of this gouty crown of yours, if you will, is that 4th place finish at EVO. Over the years, he's switched up. Because since more and more people put pressure on him about how stupid that shit sounds, now he talks about all of the EVO qualifiers he won. Now he tries to make that the focus instead of that 4th place finish because it sounds lame. It sounds lame defending 4th place. But then if you look even further, the very qualifiers that he said he won to put him into those to give him that high seating at EVO, he didn't even win those qualifiers. He didn't win all of them. He ranked high enough to put him into seating, but he didn't win all of them. But that's what he was saying, though. He says, oh, I won all of those qualifiers. I traveled around the country, and I won each and every one of those tournaments. No, he didn't. He placed highly at some of those. He didn't win all of them. Semantics, though. That's just something a brain dead detractor would actually go out there and look for. You know, it's a thing. You know, don't worry about it.
Believe any of their conspiracies. I mean, I really feel bad for you that you would believe anything that these idiots would say or do. The best thing you could do, anything like that, you stay away. You stay away from the nonsense. Seriously. There's absolutely no reason for you to ever listen to the nonsense or believe to any of this conspiracy theory nonsense these idiots spout out on a daily basis for personal gain and or for drama purposes to create drama where it doesn't exist. All right?
So instead of confronting the issue or asking for evidence, just stay away from it. Be a coward your whole fucking life and run from every little problem. That's what we're gonna do. That's why that whole 7 years of debunking off of the back of Pro Jared, by the way, means nothing. Because he didn't provide a lick of evidence. All he did was put his word out there. His very word, right, that people were shitting on for years. And showed evidence that he had lied. Here's the video that he lied in. Let me play you the clip. Oh, here's where he contradicted himself on this situation. Let me show you the clip. Oh, he's retconning shit here. Let us go ahead and show you a small compilation of all that. His word means nothing. That's why he needed Pro Jared. That's why he needed those quote unquote fucking lame ass fucking tweets that supposedly went viral, and he don't even know what viral is, but they'll go viral, right? So it would boost his ego, but more importantly, legitimize his word. You know what I'm saying? The very thing the only thing that he really has that doesn't mean shit, but he needed that to legitimize his word. So then when he went to do this debunking shit, hey, look at all these people who are looking at my tweets and retweeting my tweets and liking my tweets and saying, hey, good job, Phil, or you make a great point, Phil. That right there means my word still has meaning. So now I'm going to do this shit right here, and you guys have no choice but to take it all in. Because 10,000 people on Twitter believe me, or they think that I'm making a good point. So why won't you guys believe me here? That's exactly what it was. That's why he didn't provide any evidence. Because he couldn't. This guy was too lazy and too stupid to even look up some type of video footage of himself to try to counteract some of the shit that was said. He couldn't even do that. And then, more importantly, just in case for some of you who don't know, the list that he was debunking, the one that he initially implied that he made up, that meaning that he drew out, was actually somebody else's list. It was a detractor list. It belonged to a guy named Dragon Killer. That was his list. That wasn't DSP's. It wasn't like DSP sat, because the way DSP made it sound was, oh, I have compiled a list of things that people said about me over the years, and now I'm going to choose to debunk them. He didn't do that. He took another person's list and tried to debunk that, and he didn't even debunk everything on that list. He skipped entire years. He avoided entire years. That's the crazy shit. He really thinks his word's going to carry the day. So how are you going to dismiss another person's word, right, when you have no evidence to dismiss their word? But then you have all these people who can shit on everything you say and prove that you lied, and you also expect that to be dismissed. You want to hoof wave that away too. How does that make sense? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And that's the shit that fucks him. That's the shit that fucks him. Because he's so codependent on people taking him at face value that after a while, people need more. It's just what is expected. If Phil can demand all these people to give more and more of their time to watch his bullshit content and to give him more and more money to live his shitty lifestyle, right? They are going to demand more for that. Because time is money, and that money should go to their livelihoods or to do whatever to better themselves. They can't do that. They're being stifled in a lot of ways, or certainly suffocated, because they're trying to protect you, and they're trying to keep you moving. So then they have a right to demand a little more from you. Not even a little more, a lot more. But like anything else over there, it's pretty much bare minimum. They have a right to demand more from you. And he don't want that. And he's never wanted that. Until we get into situations like this, where believe me, believe me, believe me. It's fucking lame. It's lame as shit. And that's why he's looked at as a fucking joke. And he'll always be looked at as a joke. He'll never escape this. He'll never escape this. There is so much shit on him that, one, he could never humanly debunk. It just wouldn't be possible. Even if he could wipe away some of it, it doesn't matter because he's known to be a pathological liar. He'll lie about his own lies. He'll lie on his fan base. That go back to the whole situation with what's the dude's name? He's over there. Him and Agent Proper are cool. War Dog Leader. Go back to that War Dog Leader situation for a second. We'll skip the main part of that, but let's go to the aftermath, where Phil says that I had to go ahead and get rid of him, or I had to address him because people in the audience or people in the chat were being frustrated by what he was saying and said that he had no business of bringing his personal business up to try to make me look bad, and I had to address him because he was derailing the stream. If you go back and look at screenshots, if you can find them, if you go back and look at screenshots of what was actually being said in the chat at that time, you have a bunch of people saying, "Hey, War Dog Leader, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Hey, man, hey, War Dog, keep your head up, man. I'm sorry for your loss." You hear all of this, something that you don't see a lot of, certainly anymore. You see a lot of compassion for what War Dog Leader was going through, and a lot of people who understood what he was trying to say. So Phil lied on these people and tried to make them look like pieces of shit, just like him, to justify what he did to that guy. That's insane. But yet, that's what he did.
Believe it. It's just that simple. Stay away from it. Right now, we already have these idiots who are sitting in the chat. Oh, by the way, all people who aren't regulars, newcomers. Oh, there's drama. Did you hear this? Did you hear this? Fuck off. No one cares about your fucking bullshit because you went to the fucking...
Well, wait a second. If they're not a regular, then they're a newcomer, right? Think about what he just said. He's got a bunch of people talking shit in the chat who are not regulars and they're not newcomers. But if you don't recognize them, then they must be new, yeah? I'm just asking. Clarification.
Conspiracy site where a bunch of idiots sit there with toxic shit all day. The dregs of society, the biggest losers on the fucking planet. And you gotta come here and try to bring it to my streams. You can just fuck right off and get out permanently and don't come back. I mean it. I don't want to hear a word about anything, any conspiracies or any bullshit on my streams, and it ain't gonna fucking fly here at all. It's that simple. Okay? Fair enough? I don't play that game. Then you go fuck off. So, I certainly hope that you're all listening, because if I see it, you're out of here. And I mean it too. I don't want to hear any of the bullshit. None of it's true. It's all bullshit, all fabricated lies, and I'm not going to entertain that for a second. Okay? See, that's good. Cool Channel says, I don't understand. Good. If you don't understand, that actually means that you've been doing the right thing.
No, it don't. Because nobody should want to have their audience to be ignorant to what's going on around them. If it's hurting the content creator, quote unquote, or if it could potentially hurt them. And that's the problem. And why aren't more people in his audience, I should say, saying that? Why would you want us to purposely be ignorant to what's going on? And how do you think that benefits you or us? Why the fuck is no one saying something about something like that? That makes no sense. Yes, you guys are supposed to be here and be entertained. But if this ass clown has a segment talking about all the bullshit that's going on, you guys should have an idea of what the fuck he's talking about, so you know what to look out for. Instead, he wants to keep you blind, deaf, and dumb. He wants you guys to stay purposely ignorant of the situation, because Lord knows, does he need any fucking pay pig smarting up and breaking the pignosis, if you will, and being like, well, wait, Phil, you did say something like 2 weeks ago, but now you're saying this. Why is that? He doesn't want to be questioned from within. But yet, look at all the focus he's giving to it from the outside. He's essentially indoctrinating the very people who he wants to avoid the issue. If you don't want people to talk about a certain subject that you're not interested in divulging, why are you talking about it? That's your first mistake. If you want to keep all these people ignorant, why are you talking about it? And that's how blind and stupid and whatever the case may be, he thinks these people already are. So all he's doing is furthering it. He's just continuing the cycle, if you will. And that's why you have fuckers like Derek doing the dumb shit that they do. Amongst other things, I should say. But Derek is a great example because he is a younger manifestation of all of the flaws that, well, not all of, but of some of DSP's flaws. Certainly. The thing is, though, is the only thing I can say Derek has over Phil is, so it seems, is that one, he's not a liar, and two, he's shameless. Meaning that he doesn't care what people think about him. He's just going to keep doing whatever he does that makes him happy. Those are the only two things that Derek has over Phil. Other than that, the obsession and shit, the lack of self-awareness, amongst other things, the way he blows his money, so the financial irresponsibility, while still being codependent on his parents, and all that nonsense. Like there's no independence, or Derek hasn't shown any real independence whatsoever. He looks like someone who's just gonna stay living with his family for the rest of his fucking life and keep this porn addiction going on and everything else. It's just, he's a direct representation of what happens when you allow your children to follow the wrong type of people, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Because if you know anything about Derek's history, essentially DSP has been his fucking babysitter for a number of fucking years. And Derek is so fucking loyal to DSP that he did two things that's completely uncharacteristic that you hear from any pay pig, but Derek, as usual, breaks the mold. He was willing to steal his own mother's credit card to give Phil money and he did that for a while until he got caught. And two, he was willing to beg other stream viewers to cheer on his behalf, saying Derek really likes this, Derek really likes this playthrough, or Derek said big ups to this, or Derek said he wanted to contribute this. He would beg other people to tip or cheer on his behalf. He could still say all of that in the chat. He wasn't like he was banned or anything. He just couldn't attach any money to it. So even Derek, even young Derek, understood that if I want to get DSP's attention, I have to put money behind it. I have to. Think about that. I want you to really think about that when you think about the nonsense that you hear about Derek and all that shit that goes around about him. That's how far and that's how dedicated Derek is to DSP. Take that all in.
Foil hat and going to fucking weirdo conspiracy sites and wasting your time. You've done the right thing. The truth is, the reason that this stuff happens, that these conspiracies get drawn up, is because there's nothing dramatic going on my streams. If you haven't noticed, take a look at my streams. The last few weeks have been good. Chill streams, fun content, Game Pass stuff has been successful. Everyone's having a good time. Oh man, well we gotta try to fucking ruin that one. We gotta.
If it was successful, then why weren't people contributing to the tips goal? If the streams were entertaining and you were doing such a good job, why weren't they contributing to the tips goal? If that wasn't the issue, if everything was going right the way it was supposed to, why are you addressing this right now? Womp womp.
But here, how can we ruin that? Oh, let's make shit up. Okay. No, I don't play that game. So fuck that shit. Okay. I have now received a $10 anonymous tip. Thank you very much to the anonymous $10 tipper. That is now the biggest tip of the day. Thank you very much. By the way, one other quick thing I will say, because it came up on a stream earlier this week. I'll just clarify the air a little bit here, because last year and this year, obviously the way I'm operating things is a little different.
Now, if I remember correctly, this came up actually on Kiwi Farms first. Because there was a couple of people asking, has Phil been verifying tips since he's come to YouTube? And no one could really cite an example of him doing so. And that was going on for a little while. So that's why this, I honestly think that's the reason why this came about.
I have YouTube shout outs to do too, but let me just say something quickly. Later, let's try this again. In the fall and winter of this past year, it was a major concern of mine that people were doing these tips on PayPal, and they were basically doing fraudulent tips from unverified accounts. They were charging them back. It was really badly hurting my streams and my business behind the scenes. There were days when I was bringing hundreds of dollars in tips and then getting...
Actually, quick question. I don't know when this is ever going to go up, so I don't know. It doesn't matter. I guess it's just to put it out there. Is it possible to write off your chargebacks as a business expense? It's a loss to the business, right? But so, if you think about it, it's a loss to the business. So is that something that you can just, is that something you just chalk up to the game? And that's just the price of doing business? Or is that something that you can write off as a business, as a loss on your taxes at the end of the year? Just throwing that out there because I'm curious. Because I figured if you could, Wings would have done that a long time ago. I don't think Wings would be dumb enough to talk about it, but I think Wings would have done that a long time ago, or he is doing it. But I'm just curious if anybody knows, or just offhand. It's no big deal. It's just a point of conversation.
More than that in chargebacks on a daily basis, and it was actually like killing me in the fall too. Like, this is when all the major games were releasing, and I was dumping a ton of money on games, and it was like, man, I really need the income, and then it was being taken away from me. So there was an extended period of time where I was talking about verified tips and this and that and all of that. I just want you guys to understand none of that has changed. If you are going to tip me, I do ask that you verify your PayPal account. I am still actively checking things like that behind the scenes. I'm doing all of that stuff still. Nothing's changed. What's changed is as follows. I'm not mentioning it publicly as much because it was derailing to the streams. People were literally making memes out of it that we were, instead of having a good time talking and playing games, it was all about verifying tips and income and shit. And I didn't want my streams to be completely degraded into that. At the very same time, even though, yes, I'm still getting all that. Listen, it hasn't gone away. That for anyone who's a full-time streamer, this is always an ongoing concern.
Yeah, he's talking about tipquisitions. And I think, honestly, he was getting like a morbid... He was getting off on doing that, I think. He was getting off on doing that shit. Because he took a lot of pleasure and glee in doing that shit. He really did. And there was somebody... I can't prove this, but there was somebody in his mod chat that was probably going back and verifying some of these people. I almost guarantee it. Which is the whole reason why he was doing it in the first place. But that's all just... that's just me surmising on the situation. But he was taking he was getting a lot of glee out of doing that. And I think he was either looking for somebody in particular, or he was looking for a small group of people. And I don't think he ever found them, clearly. Though I think they were certainly smarter than he was, and they were able to get a jump on what he was pulling. But then they turned this whole shit into a meme because he was fucking up his own streams doing it. You sitting there doing fucking verifying $5 tips is pathetic. You verifying $2 or $3 tips is pretty pathetic. If it was, $50, $100, $150, I could probably see that. But for you doing it for this measly, as he likes to call it, these measly little tips, these small amounts, that's insane. That's insane. But, and eventually it's going to come out what all that was for. Because he was in a mad dash. He still is. He's in a mad dash for tips for some reason. You know what I mean? So, because like I've told you guys before, he looks like a fucking addict. He acts like a fucking addict. He really does. And sooner than later, we're going to find out what it was really all about. Give him enough rope and he'll hang himself.
Okay? There's always people who are going to be malicious. They're going to try to break the law. They're going to try to screw you over. It's an ongoing rampant thing. Okay? But essentially, I've got it under control to the point where it's not, oh my God, it's destroying me from behind the scenes anymore. It's still happening. There's still chargebacks, but it's not, oh my God, it's a panic now, and I've got to really make sure that everything is set because there's so many going on that it's ruining me. It's not that bad anymore, you see? It's still happening, and that's the other thing too. People see, oh, Phil made so much in tips today. You got to understand there's always chargeback, there's always fees, there's always issues. What you see on the front end of the stream is not actually what's happening behind the scenes. It's just not, okay? You will never know.
Well, then by that logic, nothing has changed then. How is the situation under control if the situation is still happening? He's just choosing not to talk about it. That's all he's doing. Or that's all he's admitting to doing. He's just admitting not to talk about it. But the situation is still happening, which means that it's progressively getting worse. So, and we know he's losing these chargebacks more often than not. That it's been like that since the Mort situation. Because he says that he didn't lose that situation with Mort. Quick reference. Early mid 2017, a guy by the name of Mort was sending him like $2 tips, I think, was sending him like $2 tips for like 2 or 3 months. And it ends up coming up to about $112, maybe $114 of tips altogether. And Mort, after like 2 months or whatever it was, he tried to charge it all back. And Phil said he won the chargebacks, but the way Mort did it is he had to dispute. No, it wasn't. No, my bad. It must have been $200 and something because there was 112 chargebacks, but that wasn't $112 worth of chargeback. I think it was like 100 and I think he had Mort just hit him with 112 chargebacks. If I remember correctly, I think that's what it actually was. Because Phil had to dispute each and every one of them. He couldn't do them all in bulk. He had to individually go through and dispute all these chargebacks. And for Mort, whether Mort got the money or not, it doesn't matter. What he did was make it a massive inconvenience for Phil. It's not even a massive inconvenience. He made it a chore. And after that, Phil even admitted that, yeah, I was catching chargebacks, and some of if I would put in a dispute form, and if I didn't win, I didn't even try to argue with it. He said even some of them, I didn't even bother trying to fight back. I didn't see the point in it. So Phil has admitted all of this. This right here is just par for the course. This right here is just part of the daily Gouty cycle, essentially. So him not wanting to be verbal about it is, I think he doesn't have, I don't know if he had any protection while he was on Twitch to do that bullshit anyway, but he certainly must not have it here because he's on YouTube at this time. He must not have it here. So there is something that someone has said to him, or he found out something that, okay, I can't keep bringing that up because I might get myself into some problems. And on top of that, he's already had issues with Streamlabs as well as Stream Elements. So there's that too. So something has spooked him, quote unquote, behind the scenes that's caused him not to want to speak about that anymore. And yet again, ladies and gentlemen, was that whole tip acquisition shit, was that not a form of harassment? What I mean by harassment, Phil harassing people in his audience. Was that not a form of harassment? Something to think about.
How much I'm actually making on a stream because of all of those kind of factors, okay? But that's why I'm basically not bringing it up constantly anymore, because I feel it derails my streams. It takes away from the positivity of them, and you guys don't necessarily need to always know about negative stuff going on behind the scenes unless it becomes another huge panic mode thing again. I don't foresee it being an issue, okay? I put security measures in place with my PayPal account to make sure that I wouldn't get a ridiculous amount of fraudulent tips anymore, and those protections have worked. The people who are essentially coming to streams every day giving me fake tips have been stopped from doing so, and because of that, we don't have that issue anymore. You notice there's not a number of giant fake tips coming in saying insulting things and shit anymore, right? Because I put a stop to it.
But see, we only knew it was fake because you said it was. So for all we know, anybody who sent a tip, an insulting tip for $2, that doesn't mean that the tip is fake. It just means they didn't want to they said some trollish shit and you took their money. The fake tip narrative was a way for him to, the fake tip narrative was DSP trying to get more money out of the pay pigs. Hey, I've got $40 here worth of fake tips and we haven't hit the vest goal, for example. you know, if anybody would like to help contribute so we can hit that vest goal, so we can keep the vest streak going, please do. You can go back and you can watch the old, if you want to watch the whole duration of the vest streak, you can see it. He's done that a bunch of times. And all it did was carry over after the vest streak ended. It's no different. It's the exact same shit. The exact same thing. His motives and the method to do those motives are the exact same. He's just changed the scenario. The situation has just changed. That's all. So a lot of those tips. So in truth, the whole chargeback situation is probably bullshit in itself. Has Phil had chargebacks? Absolutely. Have they been these large, significant tips or as many chargebacks as he said? Probably not. Probably not. To sit there and send Phil, keep in mind, I'm not one to condone giving Phil money. But to send Phil $1.50 or $2 and have him ranting for 20 minutes and redconning his own history, right? Is that worth it? For some people, yeah. For some people, it is. It's worth it. It's worth it enough that fucking chargeback is $2. You know what I'm saying? You got 20 or 30 minutes of ranting out of him, and then that shit's going to turn into detractor content, which you're probably going to get another 15 or 20 minutes out of. That was probably $2 well spent to some people. So why would you need to charge that back? You know what I'm saying? Because even with the chargebacks, he's just going to bundle it all up anyway. He's just going to turn it into some... He's just going to switch the narrative up into some bullshit to bleed the pay pigs even more. So who gives a shit about that? That's just a byproduct. You know, that's just more toxic waste. That's just part of the game. Charging it back doesn't mean anything. But for Phil, if he can go ahead and have every troll comment be a potential chargeback in the eyes and in the minds of his audience, then that all works out. Which is even more ironic now that I think about it. That he says that DSP says that, you know, the detractors are nothing more than just one big ass hive mind. But in actuality, that is all the DSP fan base / cult / pigpen is. It's just one collective hive mind. He wants them to all think in this one way, and he doesn't want any break in it. If you go back to 2016, 2017, people used to get kicked out of, ran out of the community for thinking differently. Now, in this video here, you see that he was like, hey, I want you guys to be willfully ignorant of what's going on and only believe what I want you guys to believe. And all of you need to. Because if not, you're going to be, if you don't believe it, and you go against the grain, if you will, you're going to be problematic. And that's going to only put you into a bad spot. Because all these people out here are trying to dox people for no fucking reason and doing all this bullshit. You don't want to be susceptible to that, do you? You're already a fan of mine, and now you're thinking differently from the group. That gives them even more reason to target you. Which goes back to that double-edged sword thing we were talking about earlier. So, just, you know, it's just the method and the madness, if you will, when it comes to this nonsense.
So that's why. All right. So I know, because people ask from time to time, wow, things change. I wonder why. That's why. Not that things are 100%, you know, solved. It will never be. There's no way to 100% ensure that someone's not messing with you when you're a full-time streamer. Okay, but it's not a rampant issue anymore. I don't need to bring it up constantly. All right. Alice Telemon has tipped me $1.30 and says, very happy to see the silent majority helping you out behind the scenes with all these gifts like a laptop, Xbox, and the chair. You will make it. Yeah. And again, it's funny because, again, and I will say this, the conspiracy theorist morons are so stupid simpletons. They will do anything they can to try to create a conspiracy theory around shit. Like, they're still saying, just listen to this. They're still saying that Only Iced Coffee is literally like my #1 donor. And everything I get is from him. All the tips that come in are him. All these. He gave me the Xbox Series X. He gave me the chair. He gave me the laptop. All completely false. All 100% wrong.
Yeah, Phil kind of admitted that he bought all of those things with his own money. But keep in mind, his own money was really Only Iced Coffee's money. So it's still right. Keep in mind. It just, the only situation is that his lie, the only thing Phil's lying about is that it wasn't donated to him directly. That's all. He did spend the money to buy it. The money that supposedly doesn't exist, hence the reason why it needed to be donated. Womp womp.
Nut jobs. It's not. It's actually exactly as Atlas Telemon says. It's the silent majority. It's people who've watched my content. They enjoy it. They don't speak up. They don't get involved in the drama. But then they see, oh, wow, it would be great if Phil had an Xbox Series X right now because look at this boring summer. And then I get it, and look how it's changed the face of what I'm doing on my streams, right? Wow, Phil, every day is...
What, you mean with the Xbox Series Pass? That was supposedly going to revolutionize his streams, and then what? What's going on now? A whole lot of nothing. What he ended up actually using it for? As nothing more than a stop-off point until some more AAA releases came out? And how is that going? I don't know. I'm actually not that far caught up yet. But I assume that it's not going very well. So wah to that. Then let's go back to a previous point too. About people getting doxxed and whatever, and you had to protect your information or whatnot. What about the people that he threatened to dox? What about Be Awesome One and whatnot, and Phil's threats to dox him back in like 2015, 2016? What about PW Dubs, who did get doxxed by Phil, right? He did get doxxed by Phil because Phil doxed his personal information to people in his mods, in his mod chat, I should say. That Anonymous went ahead and leaked all that. What about that nonsense? Didn't have a problem doing any of those things. He didn't have a problem threatening it, and he didn't have a problem actually doing it. But he wants you to be scared of all these other people, like on Kiwi Farms and everything. Yet he has actively gone out of his way to try to dox people, if he could, excuse me. And it's even been accused a long time ago that KG was like the main doxer on the King of Hate forums. And that, hence the reason why KG probably still runs the fucking, the roach nest over there as it is. Tumbleweed forums or whatever you want to call it. But KG has been accused for years of doing that shit. I don't know if, I can't remember if he's actually admitted to doing it. I'm sure there's a poster somewhere where he has gloated about it. But he's had that situation on him for years. Something to think about.
Stupid laptop, it's having, crashing, and now he has to sit here for 10-15 minutes, refresh, and now I get the new laptop, there's 0 issues, 0, and we're just smooth sailing all day long, right? This is what I mean. But complete morons will say specific things because they're that stupid, and you don't have to listen to any of that baloney. Atlas Telemon hit it right on the head. It's people who've been around for a while, they like my content, they want to see me succeed. That's who's helping me out, and I really appreciate that. I really do.
So let me get this straight. These people have random Xboxes just laying around for 8 months and didn't do shit about it and wanted to donate it to you now. Okay. You have people who don't ever tip or never give any money to your PayPal directly, or give money to your Patreon, but they're willing to spend hundreds, if not hundreds of dollars to give you money to buy you something, or to buy something and donate it to you directly. When you keep bitching and complaining about how you need the money directly for your days off so you can go out and eat and take your wife out to a nice dinner, even though you say that you actively have a problem with paying your bills. And then you say you need groceries for the house, but then you admit that, well, the groceries we bought the week before went bad and we had to throw it away, which is the reason why we have to buy groceries each and every week. And who's supposed to believe all that? How does any of that make sense? How is any of that even plausible? And you want to call people absolute morons and simpletons and all these things, when in actuality, the people who continue to further your behavior are the real simpletons, the real idiots, the real morons. That's what that really is.
Okay, YouTube shout-outs. Fergo did a super chat and says, I'm going to need to see Oblivion in the near future. Oblivion is not happening in the near future. We're about to head into the busiest gaming time of the year. The second half of August, it begins, and then we've got September, October, November, December, where essentially you're going to see a ridiculous amount of new games coming out. Once we get through that all right, then perhaps we can consider trying to do some kind of a lengthy RPG playthrough, but it ain't happening anytime soon. But by the way, I am considering Oblivion at some point. Furry Carl did a super chat, says, can Top Tipper order a food item on the marathon? No. We're going to do it together like I already explained. Double A This super chat says, "Shut up and play the game." And yes, he actually typed that all out.
Which is another wasted opportunity on DSP's part, because, well, that's what he does. He's a fucking waste in himself. That in doing Feasting with the King, or even DSP tries it, let people order something for you. Like, let's say, for example, let's say, okay, let's use Sonics, I guess, or whatever. No, fuck that. Let's use that Chinese place around the corner that Cat likes. Let's say he decides to order something from that Chinese place. Let's say he orders one thing, right? And then 2 or 3 other people can contribute to that, and each one of them pick a dish. And they have all that ordered to him, right? Or delivered to him, I should say. And then they feast like that. He picks an item, and then they pick, 2 or 3 items, and they're paying for it. So what's the loss? Matter of fact, he could have 4 people go ahead and contribute to Feasting with the King. He picks one of the 4 people. One of those people will buy one item that he wants, and then the other 3 get to choose an item, right? And he finds out he'll find out what that item is when he gets there. Even though I would think, if someone was to, even though I'm not really quite sure, if someone was to Grubhub or DoorDash food to your address, I would think you could see what the food is. But I don't know. Or he could call or whatever. Phil's is fucking paranoid, so I'm sure he'll figure out a way. And then he has it all delivered, and then just fake the reaction like, oh, I don't know what this all is, or I didn't know what all of it was, and then do that. I think more people would contribute to whatever the stream goal is, or whatever the case may be, under those circumstances. But the point being is that allowing more interactivity, his desperation to have control over every little fucking thing, is what has hurt him over the years. And then when he wants people to contribute, he fucks them over in the end anyway to get what he wants. Same thing with the fucking with the tips goal. And then if you do a tips goal, if they hit the tips goal, you guys get to choose the next, downtime playthrough or whatever the fuck he calls that shit. Not Patron's Choice, but like Viewer's Choice or whatever. He always rigs those brackets. Those brackets have been rigged for years. Because he's so scared of the detractors, trolls, haters, and critics coming in, and more importantly than that, there are just certain games that his audience picks that he don't want to play. So he's very quick to steal their money, and that's kind of what it is, stealing their money. But he don't want to play any of the games that they want to play. Like in the last one of those marathon type situations, he just played more Fallout, so he could basically have more time to get through the game, so he could get to what he wanted, while getting his audience to pay him more money to keep doing it. It's fucking lame, but no one wants to wake up and figure that shit out. Anyway, big ups to Hate Army Watch for that, and like I said, links down in the description. And let's see here, and let's go ahead and change our scenery. Fuck, do I have anything to close this out with? I guess it's gonna be that. I guess it'll be that. Do I not have any of my SnortBucks stuff here? Or Hard Snorts Gin and Tonic, that toxic flavor that never waver? I don't have any of that here? Hurtful! Looks like somebody's about to get demoted. This is uncalled for. This is uncalled for. This is very hurtful. Very hurtful. Holy shit. Alright, here, give me just a second, and I'll give you guys my conclusion of final thoughts, and then, have a good day, basically. Give me just a minute. Yeah, this is still a work in progress and whatnot. So eventually, it'll span out to be what it needs to be, because the Snort Report and then the pseudo Snort Report are certainly the same thing but 2 separate things. So they both deserve the respect that they both deserve. In any case, how do I want to close this out? The Only Iced Coffee situation is what it is, because I distinctly remember people on Kiwi Farms didn't even want to give him his own thread, because they didn't want to give him any attention. He's an attention whore. I said this on stream, but like I said, that's on a completely different channel, so most of you guys might have not had a chance to see it. But only Iced Coffee fucked up when he let Super Crazy get under his skin. He should have ignored it, and he couldn't. And like I said, I've watched at least the first couple. I think I've watched every episode that Super Crazy's put out. But the episodes that do kind of get into Only Iced Coffee, I've listened to them a few times, and there's something that I must be missing. There's something there that struck a nerve that caused Only Iced Coffee to go out of his way to try to get him doxxed. But it is what it was. But that's essentially what led to all this bullshit. It led to all this stupid shit. And it just made it worse. And then at the same time, Only Iced Coffee's still trying to play both sides of the field. So who knows where that's going to come from, or what? Not even what that's going to come from, but what that's going to lead to. But it's not going to be good, at least not for Phil anyway. You know what I'm saying? And sadly, there might be some collateral damage as well. That's something to kind of be expected. But that is what it was. Like I said, it'll be we're gonna do a hand. We're gonna probably do. I don't know how many of these we're gonna do. We're gonna do a bunch of them though, and whatnot. And then we're gonna get back to the Snort report. Like I said, I'm starting in April, and I said I was gonna do the Snort report all year, so we're gonna do it. And what I'm not sure how many episodes you'll get a week of it. We'll just see. You know what I'm saying? You know, because I don't want to put it out for 5 straight days. It's just a lot of content. If the episodes are short, then that might be different. But if they're the typical GTG running time, I don't want it out there every day. It just seems like a lot. But if we can shoot for like 4 days a week, then maybe. But 5, I don't know. I think 5 is a lot. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the audience thinks, and we'll go from there. But at least 4 days a week though, which will help. I would hope it'll help some of you guys get through your week. But we'll see. In any case, thank you guys very much for listening in. I very much appreciate it, and I will catch you guys for the next one. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Pseudo Snort Report, and this is DSP News. Always late, never breaking. Unreliable coverage that you can't count on. A GTG Network and Productions. For Hate Army Watch, and for everybody here at GTG Network and Productions, as well as for SnortBucks Coffee Company, the best beverage company, I've been your host / anchor, GTG, and signing off. Take care of yourselves, guys. Later, people.